Hi, and welcome to Screens and Focus, the podcast where we dive into your favorite TV shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, episode 6, the finale. I'm so excited to break it down with Renee. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hello, I am doing great. Excited to talk about the episode with you.
I know. I'm so glad you have been on this ride with me.
It's
I
been so
can't
fun.
imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine doing it with anybody else. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for
And
having me.
it's, 6 episodes just flew
Mhm.
by.
Yeah.
And so I would love to know, and our question of the day to you and all our friends out there, what was your favorite episode from this series?
I have to go with episode 5. I just loved it. It seems like an odd episode, but I don't know what it was about. Well, first of all, it was, Rick and Michonne and their little honeymoon stuff until Jay just rudely interrupted them. But, that was just
Yeah,
fun to see because, you know, they've never had a lot of that. They never could have a lot of that. They just always had these
right.
responsibilities and there was no time and then they were separated. So it was fun to see that. But I just loved the fact that they shocked us with the Gabriel return. They
Yeah.
and Jadis's death too. I didn't think she'd die. I mean, I thought, okay, there'll be some stuff and whatever. She's just been on and she's done so much over 3 different series that I just was shocked with that. And Gabriel's never been even in my top 5 favorite characters or anything like that.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
loved, I think because it was unexpected and it wasn't really who they brought in, it was how they did it. And it just felt, I guess it felt very Walking Deadish. So that's always fun to have a little kind of throwback to
Yes,
that, in
it
the
is.
woods and all that. And to see another side of Jadis. And I don't know, I love that episode, even though it might not be, I mean, a lot of other people's favorites, but that was definitely my favorite.
I love that. And, to be honest, thinking back about each episode, I went back and I thought about them individually. And I found such value out of each of them. So then
Mhm.
it was hard because then I thought, well, oh, not the first one. I'm like, no, wait, the first one, because I mean, Rick actually chops off his arm. We finally get to see him, and that's when him and Michonne see each other. But then I'm like, no, not the second one.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no, wait, the second one, because we get to see Michonne and her strength and what she's endured and where she's been. And then we see a little bit more of her and Rick. And then I wasn't sure of their dynamic. And I'm thinking, why is he holding a gun on her? All of that go through my head, right? And then episode 3, which happens to be, I think, my husband's favorite episode, because I asked him
Mhm.
right before I came to record this podcast episode with you because I was curious. He and I had to kind of remind him, break them out
Mhm.
into the 6 that we just saw, and he said, "Oh no, 3." He liked 3, and I'm like, "I really actually do like 3 because even though they were at odds with each other,
Mhm.
I almost kind of like that dynamic, because they love each other, but then they're
Mhm.
like button heads. It's like,
Mhm.
but butting heads in a different way that they do in episode 4, because we see how strong Michonne is and how she beats Rick's kill count and
Mhm.
the silence that she gives and just how her personality really exudes in that
Mhm.
episode. But then 4, I was just like bawling, and that was so amazing. And then, like you said, for 5, and then this episode, which we're going to break down, I love what it tied up for us.
Mhm.
So each of them have such, yeah, like I said, such value. But for me, I had already said 4 was my favorite, and that's the one that made me cry like a baby,
Yeah.
and so I think it was written well by Denai, and so I would probably go with that one, but really, I anybody who had an argument for one of the others, I could totally see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so friends out there, what do you think? What was your favorite episode from the series? We would love to know. You can comment here on YouTube or reach out to us on social media at Screens and Focus. All the links are in our show notes and at screensandfocus.com, because we want to hear what you have to say and what your favorite is. All right. So Renee, woo, woo, do you have any news? Is there any news?
Well, did you see the Carol and Daryl teaser?
I saw one of them. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if there was more than one of them.
I
So
think it was just the one. I guess I ended up not staying up to to watch it. I was like, I was going to, and I didn't. But anyway, that was like the only thing. It wasn't really news. It was just fun to see another clip of
Yes.
what's going on.
Okay, so I just wanna make sure if I wonder if it's the same one. Is it the one where we see Daryl come out and something doesn't detonate and he comes
Mhm.
out with his gun
Yep.
and starts shooting? I'm like, "This is
Yeah.
so cool."
I know. Yeah.
And then we see Carol come up with the bike upon those guys, and she's all, "Hey, do you know the guy that had it before this latest guy?" And and I love all that,
All
and then
casual and
she
chill, and then she pulls like the crossbow out, you know?
yes, yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it
Love
was cool to
it.
see that, yeah. And I wonder, that's kind of my thing. I feel like that's how that series is gonna be. We're gonna see Daryl doing his thing in France, Carol doing her thing in the States, and then I don't know how it's gonna pan out, but I feel like we're gonna see some back and forth for a bit with those 2 and what almost their experience almost mirroring each other.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
It's gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good, and friends out there, you must tune in because Renee is going to join me for that too, so
Yes.
I'm so excited. So when that comes out in the summer, although we don't know the dates
Mm-mm.
yet, right?
No,
Nothing's
not
been
yet.
released. Yeah. So we just know it'll be in the summer, so I cannot wait for that. So, woo, that's gonna be so exciting. I think I don't know if I should say this now, but I'm gonna say it now because my husband brought it up as we were watching the finale, and we're gonna get to the explosion that happens there, but my husband said, "Sorry, but nobody beats Carol."
Yeah.
Because that was the best scene, so he still holds
Yep.
that as his, you know,
Yeah, his bar
that's
there, you know?
yeah, as far as that goes, so all right, so let's get into episode 6, The Last Time. So, in this intense finale, Rick and Michonne deal with Beale and Thorne from the CRM. Their love and strength are truly evident throughout this episode as they face explosive moments together. And how about that ending? Oh my gosh, so truly satisfying. And we're going to dive into it. So, I want to know, Renee, I have thoughts on this episode, but I wanna know your thoughts and your overall reaction to it.
Well, if I base it just on the ending, it was fabulous. It was satisfying. It was everything we hoped for Rick, Michonne, Judith, and RJ. But I was not impressed with most of the rest of the episode. It was too rushed, which I think a lot of people agree on.
Mhm.
You know, it just seemed kind of silly to build the CRM up over all these different series, keep making them out to be this huge, unstoppable force, and then they're taken down that easily. You know, I mean, that, you know, it just seemed hard to digest because of what we've been fed about this group.
Yeah.
So that was really hard. And I understand this series was based, and it's always been touted as an epic love story, you know,
Right.
Michonne and Rick's love story. So I understand that's the focus of this, and that's, you know, and they were, you know, the ultimate goal was to seek closure for these characters. You know, when if you listen to the episode Insider, you know, Gimple kind of, I forget the comment he made. Oh, I can't remember the words he used, but he made it sound like you know, this was what they were, the conclusion. This is it, you know, for Rick and Michonne. And who knows what will happen in the future. But at that point in that interview, that's where he was saying. And so I understand all that, but I just feel like everything was wasted the way that they ended this, because now the CRM's done. So, you know, what it just doesn't make sense to me how they ended that part of the Michonne and Rick story. Totally happy with, if that makes all
Yes.
sense.
No, it makes complete sense, and I love how you explained it, articulated it, because that is probably my feeling too. Yes, the end because they gave us what we wanted. We both were so worried, so worried. I was so worried about Rick. You were so worried about
Mhm.
Michonne. And I am glad that we got the ending with them being together with their family. This is what we ultimately wanted. But yes, way too rushed, which we'll get into. I'm going to
Mhm.
get into that a little bit later. But yes, I do agree with overall of what you said about the CRM and all of that. But my overall I'm really happy. I'm really happy that they didn't die and they got home. So, and yes, there were some unbelievable moments that happened, and I wish they had done maybe 8 episodes
Mhm.
or even 7. I mean, 7 would have been odd, so maybe they could have done a 2-hour finale.
Mhm.
I just feel like there should have been a little bit more breath in all
Yeah.
of this. So that was my initial reaction to it. But let's talk a little bit about Rick and Michonne's journey because uh, I kind of said it at the beginning when I was talking about all the episodes, which I didn't realize. But what do you think about their journey? And what do you think about their relationship and where they're at in this particular episode?
I think, it's good overall to see them together again and fighting as this team that we've seen for years, even when they weren't in a relationship, just, side by side fighting before the relationship started or the romantic relationship started. They always fought well together. They worked well together. And that was really good to see that, because again, it just gives us those little glimpses of The Walking Dead, which, we don't want these series to be just rubber stamped up Walking Dead, but it's always
Yeah.
fun to have those little glimmers of that series that started it all. And so I've really enjoyed that part of it. And I think that overall, the focus on their relationship was dynamic. It was complex. There were so many things in it that it was they did such a great job with that aspect of this series. And so all of that was so good. I love that Michonne, when we see her, she hasn't changed. Michonne is Michonne. Rick obviously had a bunch of, PTSD that he was going through, but she brought him back like she should, just like a spouse or a partner or whatever. That's,
Right.
when you're having that, when you're low, they need to bring you back up. And she did that
Yeah.
for him,
Ah,
you know?
man.
And
Yes.
I love that so much.
Mhm.
And of course, the reunion with the kids. Absolutely. Like you said, we were both worried for one or the other. We thought one of
Yeah.
them's not going to make it
Yeah.
home to the kids.
Yeah.
So it was so good to see that and the hugs and everything. So I think the whole series did wonderful with the main focus of this series, Rick and
Yeah.
Michonne.
Yeah.
So overall, yes, I was just happy with all of that.
Yeah, me too. I do love that we were given this whole series, that we were able to see them as characters. Just like we had said with Daryl Dixon when we talked about that, how you had said Daryl hasn't ever talked this much in his whole life. What is going on here? But because they've been such a huge ensemble in The Walking Dead, we only saw, glimpses and pieces of these people and these characters that we love. So to see this, we were able to see more of who they were. And like you said, Michonne really never changed, but at the same time, we saw more of her. We saw
Mhm,
more of her parenting. We saw more of not giving up on people and her growth as a person
mhm,
because in the beginning, before she found Rick in the group, she was a lone wolf. She
mhm,
was lost herself. And so even with us talking about her last episode and who she could have been if she had picked a different choice, but she didn't. And so it's just all these things and all this growth of these characters that
mhm,
we love so much. And just seeing Michonne even grow further into that strength that she has, and also Rick and how undeniable their bond is and how they can get through the challenges and their moments of resilience when in this episode there's a moment where Rick tells her basically maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe we should just go home,
mhm,
and because he misses what he missed out on. He
mhm,
missed his son growing up for 8 years. He feels that was so stolen from him, and he raised Carl, so he knows what it is to raise a child, and he knows what it is that he missed.
mhm,
And so to miss these moments with Judith and with RJ are just, take a toll on him as a father.
mhm,
And and I love that Michonne says, "Yeah, but what kind of a world will we leave for them if we
mhm,
don't do this?" And again, I was worried. I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna leave a better world, but what's gonna happen to either one of you?" I just love all of that, and I love their love for their kids
Mhm.
and such. Okay, let's transition into Rick and Beale, and then also Thorne and Michonne, and just all those relationships. What do you think about those confrontations and what was said during any of those scenes? And the character strengths that you might
Mhm.
see.
Yeah, I loved the Rick and Beale. I did love that scene with them because I love how they're both like sizing each other up, and Beale is disarming Rick. Like, I want the prosthetic with the blade. I
Yeah,
want your gun.
yeah.
I want these things. Puts his sword out in front. Just I just loved all that. These two men who are very powerful men. They both have their strengths and talents that they use for the different positions they have in life and in the world that they have. But it was just really neat for that. But I think Rick went into this understanding he was going to learn some things, but I don't think he was prepared at all for what Beale gave to the information.
Yeah.
He's like, "You guys did what? Or you do what is that, sir?" Like, he was like, "What do you do, sir?" And then when he started telling him, he is like, grabs that knife, and he knows the only way to stop Beale is to end him. And from that point on, that knife in his hand, there was no stopping Rick. And I just was like, "Oh, this is so cool," and then he throws the knife, and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah,
Like, yes, Rick is back, and
yeah.
so another funny thing. So he brings up, when he's talking about his past and the
Yes,
biting, that was the
yes.
funniest thing. The day before was the anniversary of that episode. It aired on
Oh,
March
wow.
30th, 2014, and I wrote an article about it because
Oh,
it's just always one of
cool.
those ones that it pops up. I was like, I gotta write something about this because it's just so
Yeah.
cool. So it was hilarious that I had just written about it the day before, and then the next morning I watched the episode and he says that. So yeah, that was really cool. But I was really, I guess I was disappointed with the echelon briefing. I'm like, that's it? I mean, it was horrible things, but it was like, we already knew most of it. And the only thing we didn't know is
Yeah.
we're learning, him and Michonne are both learning about Portland. She's in the
Yes.
briefing, he's in here in this, whatever meeting. And they're both kind of like, that plan is playing out. And it's like, that was the only thing we didn't know. I was like, okay, well, that wasn't such a big bunch of secrets. I mean, I understand Rick didn't know about Omaha and that, but it was like that was it.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed in that. They made it sound like such a secret. And which brings up Thorn. It's like, you heard all that and you thought that was a great idea?
I thought that
I was like,
too.
are
I
you
thought
kidding me?
that. I exact same thoughts, and I thought, "Why are you so sold on this?
Yeah.
How does that sound good?" I think the thing that we did learn though was, well, I mean, I know we knew about the other communities, but did I really think they were gonna devastate this community? Did you know
Because
that? That
that was the plan initially, like in World Beyond. That, because in World Beyond, that's what the one group they left. So, some of them were kept continuing to try to work on those fungus to whatever that was. I can't remember if they were something to do with the walkers, the scientist people, they were still working on that.
yeah.
But there was the other two who they in a group were going to warn Portland. They left to warn them. So I was thinking, because the timeline's a little, cloudy with between World Beyond and this. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
were they on their way to tell them, or how did they didn't make it? Because I thought in World Beyond they made it there, though. I was pretty sure at the end. I need to go back and see that, but I'm pretty
I
sure they
know,
did.
right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, that was always the plan in World Beyond, but I thought it was thwarted. But evidently, either they didn't make it there, or I don't know what happened in the intern, or if they just decided to go ahead and do it anyway. I guess I'm just not sure on that.
Yeah.
It was kind of messy, but I still just was like, I couldn't believe Thorne was just like, when she would go after she had the briefing, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna learn things," and da 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 da. But she seemed fine with everything. So anyway, I thought that was strange. I wish that briefing was more meat to it, I guess, And then I wanted to see a bigger fight between Michonne and Thorne. I wanted that to be like, I know it was pretty good, but I wanted it
Yeah,
to be like more,
yeah,
because you
yeah.
got these two, I mean, Thorne's a fighter. She was kicking Rick's butt there for a little bit, you know?
I know.
I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I just wanted to see her and Michonne, kind of these two powerful women, go at it a little more. But yeah. So, and I know, yeah, I know you've never really been a fan of Thorne, so you were probably just like,
Yeah.
whatever.
So I'm like, "Yeah, kill her. Get her." No, because I kept thinking yeah, I just wasn't a fan of hers, but I kept thinking, well, maybe some glimmer of something will show up, but then to me, it's like she really went the other direction
Yeah.
with everything until or maybe her last dying breath,
Yeah. When she was already
but
dying. Yeah, literally dying.
yeah, but yeah, I wondered the same thing, like, how did she just go along with this? Yeah, we're gonna
Mhm.
kill all these people, we're gonna kill all these kids, only
Extract a
10%
couple,
are
yeah,
going
we're
to
taking
be
yeah.
okay.
I mean, how do you
And yeah, and just, I thought well, to me, what was revealing was, and I was gonna say this later on, but that's okay, I'm gonna say it now. What was revealing to me was that Beale says we've only got 14 years left. I thought
Mhm,
that was like, "What?
mhm.
What are you talking about?" Well, that's by his
Yeah.
the modeling that is out there. And also that he says, this was really shocking to me when he says, "Our scientists have been working on this and they haven't found out anything." I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean by that statement? How can that be?" Okay, how can that be? It's just crazy to me. There has to
Mhm,
be so we didn't get any like knowledge of the virus or what is happening, what they showed us in the world beyond with the France. And
mhm,
I mean, yeah, we saw a little bit of Daryl Dixon, but it still doesn't tie in
mhm.
everything to me.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted a little bit more there, and I thought that that was, revealing what
Mhm.
Beale was saying. And but, it kinda goes to show you how you get certain leaders, and they can just influence
Yeah,
people, and people just believe. They
yeah.
just do.
Whatever they say, they'll believe.
Yeah, which
Another
is
thing
go ahead.
another thing that he said about having I forget exactly what he called them, but they had people in these schools monitoring these children and doing this. I thought he was gonna say like I thought there was gonna be something like he had people planted maybe at Alexandria or Commonwealth or something like that. I thought there
Well,
was
he
gonna be
said communities and throughout the
yes,
world, so
yeah.
I'm
So
thinking,
then I was like,
"Are they
oh
in
my
France?
gosh,
Where are they?" Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
where are they? Well, their Jadis was out there for,
yeah,
a while too, so, I mean, she wasn't doing exactly that yet, but
yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing that I thought,
mhm,
oh, we're gonna get to learn
mhm,
something, but then we didn't. So
yeah, and I too did like when he asked Rick about the things that you've had to do and he brings up, biting a man's neck out
yeah,
and, "What did you do it for?" And he says, and I said the words before he said his
yeah.
words. He's all, "My son, Carl," and he's all, "My son, Carl." I'm like, "Yes." I just love all those moments. I don't know why it just means so much to me to hear Carl's name because to me, that's how it started. Rick
Mhm,
and Carl, just how much he loved his son
mhm,
and just wanted a better world for him. And I love when he tells Beale, "I didn't lose my son, he saved me, and
mhm,
so did my wife." Oh my gosh,
mhm.
that was so good. I
Yeah.
loved that. But yeah, Beale, man, he's just a crazy dude, boy. And
And
I, for a minute, thought he was just testing Rick, which I guess he
ah,
kinda was, but
yeah.
I really wasn't sure yet if he was really, really I mean, I know he was testing him out, but I feel like he kinda believed in him because he thought,
Mhm,
"Well, why did you come back?" He wouldn't come back. He had his
mhm.
opportunity. He coulda gone, coulda just left. Of course, they don't know that Michonne went to go get the dossier, and yeah, even finding that in that creation that Jadis made.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so anyways, just Rick showing the extent that he goes to protect his family, and yes, him jumping over that desk was just so cool. I'm like, "Yep, Rick is back." So cool. I love that moment with them fighting, and yeah, like you said, with him fighting with Thorne, but he did throw her, which was
Yeah.
good.
You
Like,
were cheering,
"Yes."
I bet.
Yes, I was. Well, I hate it when Rick in The Walking Dead kept getting beat up by
Yeah.
everyone. I'm like, "Holy," and then, oh, that one where Rick was beating the crap out of that one military guy.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he, like first I thought he was just punching the helmet. I'm thinking,
Because
"Man, you're gonna break your hand," but then he punched through the helmet and you saw the guy's face.
he
Uh,
had that his I keep forgetting it's his hand. It's that
oh, was it
prosthetic
that
hand.
hand though? But was it that hand? I thought it was his
Yeah.
right hand, or
No, I think
isn't
it
that
was
supposed
left.
oh, it was his left?
Yeah, his
Oh,
left.
that would make more sense. Okay, then that makes much more sense.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm trying to remember.
We'll have to go
Yeah,
back
I'll
and
have to rewind, but I assumed because I keep forgetting that he's missing his hand.
yeah.
It took me a second. I was like, "What? What's the deal with that?" I was like, "Oh yeah, he can't drive stick shift."
Well, wait though, but that would be well, his right hand he could.
Yeah.
I just thought he didn't know how to drive a stick shift. I don't
Huh.
know.
I think well, it's funny because that's what I thought initially, but then I thought people were saying because of his hand. But now that I think about it, which one did he cut off? He cut off his left one, didn't he?
His left hand. Yes, I believe it's his left hand. Yes.
So now
Yes.
I'm really confused because I know because I'm positive he cut his left hand off. So then maybe
Yeah,
I guess because he couldn't shift and steer, maybe.
maybe. Yeah, that's true because look at we're thinking about him driving because he would normally steal with his right hand, but if he needs his right hand for the stick shift. But honest to goodness, when he said it to her, I thought he meant he just didn't know how to drive a stick shift. And he's all here, you drive it. But
Yeah,
yes.
that's initially what I thought. Okay. So
Mhm.
anyway, we were on the same page with that.
All right. So let's get to that explosive ending. What were your thoughts on this intense final scene with the CRM and the explosion? And did you think it had any significance or symbolism to their journey or any of that? What were your thoughts on it?
I guess I don't know. I just think like like I said, everything was fairly rushed, and so it was just hard to really be invested in it. But it made me look at like it was like what Okafor did. It's similar to what he did with he had to decide, do I let this whole big city be destroyed or just this small bit of military people? So it was exactly
Yeah,
what Okafor did, to save
yeah,
Philadelphia. So I did, I did think that, but other than that, I mean, I thought it was incredible, and the like when you saw the scene,
yeah.
that was really cool and stuff. The aftermath and things, that was cool. And all the crispy walkers all over, and that kind of stuff was really cool. But I don't know. I guess I was just kind of like, I don't know. I didn't dig very deeply into anything else because it was so rushed.
Yeah, this was definitely the part that was very rushed. Visually, it was really well done. I think the explosion itself was very cool.
Mhm, yeah.
I loved seeing all those it gets quite comical when you see walkers, like, flying all over the place, but it just looked really massive.
Hmm.
But I'm thinking if it's that massive and I know Thorne had a mask, but still, didn't she go flying? I don't know how that worked. I know it looked like it went outward, and I know that the whole water thing is supposed to be really helpful with gases and if that ever happens. So I believe that that part probably made sense. But also Rick with the grenade, that was a little bit
Yeah, like
far-fetched.
how did that happen?
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, "Oh my god, they're getting him. Is this how Rick goes out when they were, and I thought, well, maybe they shouldn't have done that because it did seem okay, what I wanna say about this is there was a lot of far-fetched things in this particular episode,
Yeah,
and the only reason, uh, it bothers me is because of the people that aren't the biggest Walking Dead
yeah,
universe lovers, and it just gives them more to pick at,
yeah, for
and so that part, because 'cause I'm protective, right? This is the Walking Dead, the ones who live just the whole universe, and I'm very protective of it, and I want other people to realize how good it is, and it's like, if you give them an episode like this, it's kinda like, it just gives
oh,
them reason to pick at it and to
yeah,
say things about it, but I read an article that I did like because they said, "Yeah, it's corny, but who cares? Who
Yep.
cares?
We're
We
still
get what we
watching.
want. Yeah, yeah, we're still watching and we get what we want. So, I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm glad you think that."
One thing about Rick, though, I was just thinking with the grenade, maybe he stuffed it in one of the walkers. Maybe he was able to stuff it inside one
Okay.
that kind of
Right.
softened his. I don't know. I'm just thinking, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. They were chomping at him and he's all,
Yeah, I know.
trying to
Yeah, for a while too. Anyway, yeah, we still love it. It doesn't matter.
I thought it was a great nod to Nat, who taught Michonne
Yeah.
this, because there's a moment where
Oh,
Rick
then
says,
she's yeah,
"Wait, how did you learn this?" And she says something to that regard,
yeah.
giving him credit for teaching her this. And we
Mhm.
didn't even talk about all the flashbacks that we saw
Oh,
of
yeah,
The
yeah.
Walking
That
Dead and
was
the
yeah.
characters and just all the extent that they went through. I love that they showed those. It was so many different highlights, and there was ones at the prison, the things that Rick had to do and the things that Michonne
Mhm.
had to do with chopping people's heads off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I kind of liked it because we got to see some other people. We see a moment with Daryl and Morgan, and who I do miss, and I'll say that maybe a little bit more in just a little bit. Anyway, so did you have any thoughts on those flashbacks or
Oh, yeah, yeah, I kind of forgot to say, yeah, that was it was just cool. I always enjoy those because again, like I said, it just gives that, just kind of reminds us what started all this and
yeah,
how we came to be where we're at and things like that. So, yeah, that
yeah,
was really good.
yeah. So after this explosion, and just trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to say about Thorn. No, I just
I
think
did
I'm
think
glad. Go ahead.
I thought that conversation between her and Michonne was weird, how they threw that in the middle of a fight about love and all that. I was like, this is
Yeah.
not really the right spot to be having this conversation. I thought that was odd how they did that. I mean, I get they're just giving us more information about Thorn and what her headspace is. And she just lost her people or love and talking about the love and all that kind of stuff. Or I can't remember what exactly she
She
says.
said, "How did you get through to him?" Or, "How did you get to him?" Because she still thinks she's Dana.
Yeah.
She calls her Dana, and I think, are they gonna say anything like, "This is my
Yeah.
wife," or,
Yeah.
"This is my love," or because I don't even know if she still realizes who she is.
Yeah, that's
And then
true. I didn't think about
and
that.
then yeah, because she's like, "How did you get through to him?" And he
Mhm,
says, "Love, I never gave up on him."
mhm.
And then she says something like, "And
There's
I
no
never
love
gave up on
anymore.
myself," and she said, yeah, that's when Thorne said, "Yeah, there isn't love anymore," or whatever. And
Yeah,
not
in his
not
world
with
or something.
yes, but then Michonne corrects her
Yeah.
at the end,
But yeah,
and,
anyways, I just thought that was an odd conversation to have in the middle of a fight like that. I don't know. I guess just to give us more background on Thorn or and where she's coming from or something. I
right,
don't know.
right,
I
her
guess.
headspace, and
Yeah.
again, wondering how she got through to him because she doesn't know. And then her saying at the very end, "Okay, Okafor was right." Oh,
Mhm.
I know, I wanted to bring it up because you had said it, and it had reminded me of what a good guy Okafor really was, and
Mhm.
now it makes sense when he got the briefing and he
Yep.
saw like, "Wait, we cannot let this happen."
Mhm.
So I like that. I like
Mhm.
that we learned what it is. Not everybody was going along with it.
Yeah.
There were some people who were like, "Wait, this
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. I don't want everybody dead again, especially not children."
Mhm.
So I like that piece that was brought
Yeah.
in. But at the ending, when we see all of that happen, I guess it's like the news
Yeah.
sort that is talking about the Operation N1W, and how there was so much information that I had to like stop,
Yeah.
and listen and stop and listen because they were feeding us so much information.
Mhm.
Also, when Michonne was listening to that briefing or whatever it was too, I had to stop again.
Mhm.
This is the second time around, not the first time. I watched the first time around just watching it,
Yeah.
and then I go back on my
Panel.
second time and really try to break down what they say because there's so much. Beale talked a lot, that briefing film talked a lot, or that, you know,
Mhm.
narration, voiceover, what do you wanna call it, and then this one talked a lot, so there was
Mhm.
a lot said. But, what we do learn is that the Civic Republic Council has taken over control again, and the citizens now can leave of their own free will. Also, they're reshaping the CRM, to aid survivors and communities
Mhm.
and hope for the future. So did you have any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I did love how they did it as a newscast kind of thing because that was the best way to get all that information to us. So I thought
Yeah.
that was a really cool way. I really liked how this series has used narration and these,
Yes,
and
me
then
too.
the newscaster guide to do these kind of things to give us the information we need, because some of it there, like you said, there was a lot of it in these things.
Yeah.
And so I've really enjoyed how, even like with Michonne and Rick writing his letters to Michonne, and we're
Yes.
hearing those, and Michonne to Judith and things. So it's just
Yeah,
that whole, I love that whole aspect of the series, how
me
they did
too.
that. But in this case, I was just like, okay, so it's done. And then all these questions in my head, like, how did the CRC take over? What was their, like, how do you take over? I don't know. I mean, sure, Rick and Michonne killed like 3,000 soldiers, but I think there were like 50,000. I mean, it's some insane number. It might be more than that. There are so many members of the CRM. I mean, it's a huge military force. So who is this person who, like, took that over? How did you do that when they were in the mindset where Beale said this, and Beale's our leader? They were obviously all brainwashed, and I'm sure there were still others in a resistance kind of thing, maybe that were like with Okafor. We don't know all that
Yeah,
backstory, but it
yeah,
was just so, to me, it was just absurd to just think, okay, these, you built this up as this huge force, this, larger than life kind of group who militant and all, all this kind of stuff, but yet these peaceful CRC people who live in the Civic Republic and don't have anything to do with the CRM are just taking over. It was just too far fetched for me, and
yeah, yeah,
again, just so rushed. Yeah. So it was, and to me, it's like, okay, so that's it.
yeah.
you know?
I understand what you're saying, and that is how I felt, but like I said, I'm like, "Oh, but wait. Oh, but this." I agree with all the things that you said, but on the other side, I think maybe the people that were in the explosion were the 2,500 people that had that echelon briefing, probably more because it looked more than that to
Mhm.
me. But there are other soldiers, and also the city has a government, so there are, maybe not a president, but a
Mhm.
leader there, so maybe they look back to that leader, and not everybody would want everybody killed,
Mhm.
so who's to say how
Mhm.
it would happen, and they would
Yeah.
just put some other military person in charge. And like you said, we don't know who Okafor was working with. And
Mhm.
also, sometimes you don't know the other people that could align with you because you don't want to
Yeah.
say anything because you're not sure, like, are you on that side or you're on this
Mhm.
side? So maybe it became more evident
Yeah.
as it did all come out. But it did tidy it up really fast. It's like that's why it's like, oh man, we needed another episode or two. We
Mhm.
really did. I think I was missing, I think we're gonna get to this in a minute. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that for now. I think. Let's get to the ending with them on the helicopter and having their reunion with the kids. So tell me what you thought about that scene.
Yeah, well, when they first started walking off, I was like, "What is this?" Like, you're like, "What is this?" And then you see the kids running, and it's like, "Oh, thank goodness, thank goodness, this is how it's going to end." It was very beautiful. It was so satisfying for everybody. It was just that one thing we all just wanted to see. And I know I talked about with other people about how we said that even if there's a radio call, even if we just hear their voices,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, mom, dad," that kind of, there
Yeah.
had to be something to conclude this story in that way. It needed to be done. So yeah, I was very pleased with that. I thought the dialogue though was a little disjointed, and
Yeah.
I just felt that, like, it was very forced and stuff like that. But I mean, that's irrelevant because it was just so great to see it and everything. So overall, yes, I enjoyed it very much, and I was very happy that that's how it ended. I wish we would have known though. Maybe like they kept telling us throughout the thing, this many years. If they would have said, like, how long did it take them to take over the CRM
Right.
and do that, it just would have been like,
Right.
3 years later, a little thing to show us, like, how 6 months. I don't know, how long it took for that. So I would have
Yeah.
liked to have known that, just because I like to know that stuff.
Yeah, they should have given it to us in that way too.
Mhm.
I do wanna mention when they were on the helicopter. and we just see their hands and we see
Mm.
Rick's hand shaking, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, totally," right? You'd be,
Yeah.
like, scared to death. I'm going to see my son who's 8
Yeah.
years old and my daughter that I
Yeah.
haven't seen in 8 years,
Mhm.
and how are they going to receive me? And just I'm going back to a place where they don't have control over me, and
Mhm. There's so many, yeah.
oh,
'Cause
so many things. Yeah, going through his mind and how she, holds onto his hand to reassure him. And I just love that Michonne just has the strength. Oh my God, she just has the strength,
mhm,
which is
yeah.
so needed. She's so amazing. They both are. It was I love the themes of hope and family throughout all of the Walking Dead universe, and that's why we watch. That's why I
Mhm.
love this show, and to see this ending was so completely satisfying to me. It's what we wanted, it's what I wanted, and I know, like, last week you were talking about, which is true, how they don't really kill anybody off because they wanna make the fans happy. Well, I'm glad in this case that they I really am, because maybe the series would have been something if one of them had died,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I'm just really happy that all 4 of them reunited. It's just we just had to see it, really, because we saw Rick in the beginning, and I've said this so many times, but we saw Rick in the beginning trying to get back to his family, and to see his story end
Mhm.
with that, it's the right ending. It is
Yeah.
the right ending. I had to put my feelings in a blog post, so I'm gonna have that posted later on today, which is Monday, but because I had to get it all out, right? I
Yeah.
had to get what I feel about this whole series and how I'm connected to all these characters, and just what this it all means to me, with it being my favorite TV show ever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just love that, and, but I do agree with you that it did feel a little bit awkward.
Mhm.
It made sense that Michonne ran out to her kids first
Yes.
and that they hugged
Mhm.
her first. That seems like that would totally happen, and how Rick stood back, and I love that he
Mhm.
just stood back and
Let
just like,
let
"Okay,
them have their moment.
and I love that Judith was, of course, first, because he knows Judith.
Yeah.
She's just a young woman now instead of a child, a
Mhm.
toddler running around, and so I thought their moment was really great. Yeah, I thought it was just a little more awkward with RJ and him, although I love that RJ says, "I believe."
Mhm.
But the transference of that hat throughout the Grimes family was
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, and just seeing them all hug together was just
Oh,
so
yeah.
heartwarming,
Mhm.
so heartwarming. I thought it was so nice.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Well, I want to know, before we get to our favorite moments, I want to know if there are any other surprises, revelations, or misses for you.
Mm. I think, just we've talked about just the whole rush in the CRM. I feel like,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to go with the CRM at this point. So now what? What do the other series? What happened? Like it seems like it was just an ending that really is kind of massive for the franchise
Yeah.
because now what? So I know they can create another bad guy or whatever, but yeah. So I just felt like that really did close a lot of things up. And it'll be, and not to say that it couldn't be infiltrated with, bad people again or something, I guess, but it just, yeah,
Yeah.
it just seems like it really does conclude a lot of possible storylines. And it's hard to say what will happen next. But overall, no, I think it was it was great. And I do love how they did Rick and Michonne's love story. And I feel like everything they did with that part of this series did the story justice in my eyes anyway. I feel like they just did such a good job with that. So, and that's what it was supposed to be about. This was always
Right.
supposed to be the love story. So that part of it was fabulous. But other than that, I don't think I really had a whole lot. I guess I just was resigned to the fact that that's how it is, and the CRM is, not evil anymore, and we'll just
Yeah.
see what happens next.
Well, I think that with you saying it, and it is true, you have to keep going back to, this is their love story. This is
Mhm.
Rick and
Yep.
Michonne's story. Because if you think about it bigger, then it missed a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So You have to keep that in mind and, for this focus of these
Mhm.
6 episodes, and I think you're right. It did that. It accomplished that. It
Mhm.
showed that. So, for that, I'm so happy with. The things that I do miss is that we don't get to see that tie into the other characters that we
Mhm.
love. And when this is happening, I'm me and time frame.
Yeah. Mhm.
I just like to always be clear on it. I love it. We do have a friend out there who listens on YouTube and comments, and she gave me a breakdown of Father Gabriel's time with what was happening with Jadis's and Father Gabriel's meetup
Yeah.
time with also what was happening in The Walking Dead, so I really appreciated that. So yes, timing is so important.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so where is Daryl and Carol at this point, and how is that impacted, and I don't know that the Dead City has anything to do with this, these 2 stories aligning, but still there are things happening there too. So there's things
Mhm.
happening throughout each of the universes, and do those tie together at all?
Mhm.
I don't know. I would love a walkie with somebody, if even Morgan. I mean, it would have been nice to end something, even if someone said, "Hey, hey," like them walking away, or, "Hey, dad, I heard some guy's voice on the walkie. He said his name was Morgan." I mean, really, that's all we would have needed, you know? Or, "Uncle Daryl's doing fine, dad," or something. I don't know. I just always need those little tiny strings of hope of those
Mhm.
people, just because I love them. And
Mhm.
it would be great to have those tie-ins. But yeah, and we had already talked about, wishing it was more episodes, because that would have allowed the story to unfold just a little bit easier than this last episode. Because I think all the other episodes were timed well. I just think it
Mhm.
was this one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
needed more time.
Mhm.
So, yeah. And we'll see. Well, do you think Beale's words were incorrect, or can be or will be incorrect with the 14 years? What did you think about that?
So I thought I thought he was saying he was talking about supply, and maybe I misunderstood what he was saying in that scene.
I thought what he was saying was that we're all gonna be end up dead in 14 years, because with food and with the disease, and we're like petri
Mhm.
dishes, meaning to me that meant like we can all get something. There might be like another virus that'll
Okay.
just kill us out. I don't know what it really means. That's
Mhm.
why I was like trying to pick apart what he was saying, but overall, to me, it seemed like they had 14 years.
Mhm. Okay, because I was kind of thinking like if he was saying like talking about resources and stuff, because that's his whole thing. Is
That too,
okay, okay,
resources and
yeah.
to treat, because those diseases and anything that people get or have, feed into
Mhm.
the other things, the environment.
So yeah, so I don't know. I guess I feel like they're wrong about a lot of things,
Yeah.
like killing
Yeah.
people, like killing people in mass quantities just because whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's just there's a lot of things the CRM has wrong, and so hopefully
Yeah.
what he said that was wrong too, because well, and we know that's not true because we have the Tales of the Walking Dead episode that happened 30 years later, so
Yeah.
we know that there's
True,
still
true,
things going
true. I
on.
love that.
Yeah, so that's in there,
Yes.
so yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, we can say he was wrong.
Yes, we can say you're absolutely 100% right. Also, because things shift and change all the time. So you
Hmm.
can't say that. That just
Yeah,
can be your prediction. But, and I think Rick, says something like, because even he says, "Oh, we're all dead." And Rick's all,
yeah.
"No, we're not. We are the ones who live, man." So, yeah. All right. So, Renee, with all of this, we are at our segment and the award goes to, I would love to know, what was your favorite quote, your favorite character, or your favorite moment?
But besides the ending, because we know that was fabulous, I would pick when they rigged up Beale and the walker and the explosion. I just thought that was so cool. And, like she was saying, like Nat taught her, that was a great little nod to him because I just wish he didn't die. And but anyways, I just thought, it's always so fun to see those scenes like that where it's like, could this really even happen? I don't know. I'm not a bomb person. I don't know how any of that works, but man, that was cool. And to use Beale
Yes.
as that person to do it.
Yes.
So I just loved that. I thought it was kind of comical and just really cool to see.
It was comical, and I'm so glad you brought that up because that does stick out in my head too. Also, just seeing the explosion, that was cool. That
Yeah.
was really cool watching that. And the fact that, yeah, she used them to detonate all of that, to figure out how to do all of that. That's
Hmm. Pretty smart.
genius.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. So I think that that's great. And I think that's a great pick. It's hard for me because yes, I would say the ending because that's truly satisfying. That's what we needed. That is what I, love and want. Whoa, I want to talk about something that I didn't bring up. The beginning. Didn't we see them having sex in the
Yes.
background? I'm
Yes.
like, "Holy crap, they
Yeah,
are
that's
going
right.
there." I'm like, "What? What? They're having sex. Oh
Because
my
they're
god."
panning in and they show the table and they show like I stopped it. There's
Yes.
there's a piece of paper on the table, so I stopped to see what that was, and it was like the layout of the base, and there was a little box and it said Jadis's quarters and all that. So it was like
Oh.
the map of the base is what it was, like a hand drawn one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought, but
Yes.
then then you go and there's another whiskey bottle. I don't know where they keep finding this whiskey,
I
but they
know.
do. And then and then oh yeah, then we see them. Yeah, and he takes
Yeah.
the ring and puts it on her finger, and yeah, so
Yeah, that's afterwards, which is
yeah,
nice,
right.
but I'm like, there is movement going
Yeah,
around
there's
in the
definitely, yeah,
background,
definitely.
yeah. So I'm like, "Whoa, okay." Anyways, it is a love story.
Yeah,
But, yeah, so I can't even believe we didn't even say that, and
I
all
know.
those moments of them together, right? Talking about what they're gonna do, and
Mhm.
they were filling us in also, right, of how they would talk to each
Yeah.
other about their plan and how they were going to go about it. So I
Mhm.
I do love those moments too. That it gives us more information, which is what we all want, right? We want the information. We don't wanna just assume or guess or like, how come they didn't talk about that? So I did really like that they filled us in that way. But yeah, we didn't even talk about that. So, but I was gonna say, yeah, just I love seeing them both in their badass moments. So, Rick throwing that knife at him and it just getting him, it was very cool. And
Mhm.
then of course jumping over and it just all the moments. I just love the badass moments
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
happen. So they're just very cool. So yeah, I love it. I love it. So do you think any of this will spill into the other series?
I don't know. It's hard to know because could Carol have been telling
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, do you think there'll be a second season?
I don't think so. I think this one will be
Yeah.
done.
It
It's not
feels
to
like it
say
ended.
Yeah, it's not to
Yeah.
say that we may never see Rick and Michonne
Right.
again, but
Right.
this series it came to its conclusion. I mean, it
Yeah.
was very neatly done and there was closure in all that.
Yes, there was
So,
closure. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're all alive, so yes, we could see them again, but I don't think in this series. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But as far as anything flowing over into another episode or a series or anything like that, did was it Carol that said Rick came back? Did she say Rick came back to Daryl in that radio call? And I don't
Yeah.
know why she would be distressed and hesitant to tell him, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe something's happened. We've been trying to, figure this out because
Mhm.
like, what did she say? What did she say?
I
So
know.
whether it's an actual appearance of Rick or anything like that, but it could just be, oh, this happened, or I don't know. So that's really the only thing that I can see that would. I guess the other thing I just thought of this was if the lady, what's her name in France? Is it
Janae, yes,
yeah,
yes.
so if she was in league with the CRM, she's not anymore because they're not doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I suppose that could affect something with that. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why they came to the United States to get walkers, but they did. And we know that the CRM had tested them. So it just
Yeah.
seems, like that fits. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that would have any bearing on any of that. I guess my biggest thing would be that Carol would be telling him that, telling Daryl that Rick came back. So,
I wanna bring something up, and I think we kind of alluded to it already, but okay, we watched The World Beyond, and it culminated with the ending, which is France, right? Well, that whole purpose for that series was for this
mhm.
series, yet they didn't touch upon it at all. I feel like we see more of it in Daryl Dixon.
Well,
Uh,
I think that that coda scene had nothing to do with World Beyond. It's separate. It wasn't.
hmm,
I don't think that had anything to do with the ones who live. I think that was all going towards Daryl, showing what's happening there.
uh,
That
huh,
was my. And again, I could be wrong, but I
okay,
always assumed that it was separate from the World Beyond. It was like a coda scene, just like, just like the end of The Walking Dead. That Rick and Michonne a bonus scene had nothing to do with the end of The Walking Dead. It was
right,
just
yeah,
what had been going on with them. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
looked at them as separate things
right. That would
in
make
my mind.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just always, then once we found out, oh, Daryl's going to France, okay, that's what World Beyond was kind of giving us,
Mm,
not necessarily a specific moment in that series, just showing us, hey, this is going on in France, because Gimple had said things like, this will make sense later on. It's going to tie into something. He just was very cryptic
ah,
about how he
okay,
explained what that
okay.
scene was. So that was always my interpretation. Again, I could be wrong.
No, that makes total sense. But I also feel like that information should play into this somehow. The fact that Beale said still that we had our scientists and they
Mhm.
haven't come up with anything is still doesn't ring true to me. That can't be true. That
Right.
cannot be true. And the fact that in the world beyond, we see all their experiments. What is happening with that? Yeah, he says, "Oh, nothing's come of it," but they kind of like pushed it to the side, and that's what the whole world beyond was about, was experimenting on these people. That was what
But the
they
scientists, they kind of like overtook them. And so Dr. Bennett and his
yeah,
daughter,
yeah, yeah,
they stopped they stopped that, because
right,
that was,
yeah.
so I feel like maybe World Beyond, again, I don't know the timeline, maybe World Beyond and the
Happened
ones who
with
live are in
previous
tandem,
yeah,
because like
uh,
the end of the CRM and the ones who live, the end of the testing and things like that, maybe it all kind of came about at the same time then,
yeah,
so that they were still, maybe up until Beale was killed and this all happened, maybe they were still experimenting, and they really hadn't, because they said they hadn't really done much. They hadn't
yeah,
been, until Hope came along, and then she started finding out this fungus thing, or I can't remember. It was something to do with fungus, and I don't remember what they were doing with it. But that was like the first, like, aha kind of thing, I believe, with that testing. I feel like they were just kind of they just, nothing was happening.
yeah.
So maybe those two do line up more than what we know. I don't know.
I wanna tie in. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll bring back I don't know if they'll bring back that show, but not like that was my favorite show, but now I just feel it's kind of pivotal and it could kind of round out
Mhm.
some things. Who knows? But I don't know. There's so
I know.
much I still wanna know.
Yeah.
I'm not done. I'm not done. I mean, thank goodness we still have Daryl Dixon and we still have Dead City and,
Mhm.
who knows what else we'll learn
Yeah.
in these series. So it's all exciting. We all love the Walking Dead universe. Okay. Are we good? Do you have any last words?
I was hoping we were going to see some sort of coda for another series, is what I was hoping for. I was like, oh, what are they
Yeah.
going to, give us a tease about something? And nope.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed with that, but
Yeah. All
yeah.
right. Well, thank you, Renee, for joining me for this finale of The Ones Who Live. Thank you so much. And we're going to shift gears and
Mhm.
go into our TV and movie recommendations. I would love to know if you've watched anything in the last week.
So I've been watching Renegade Nell on Disney Plus,
Oh, okay.
and it's it's kind of a, I guess, family kind of show, because it's, pretty clean. It's got fantasy, but it's an adventure and this kind of stuff. But so it's Louisa Harland of Dairy Girls. Did you ever watch Dairy Girls?
I only saw like an episode
Okay,
or
well, I
2.
love
Yeah.
that series, it's hilarious, and so she's one of the main characters in that, so I was very excited when I heard she was cast. Then I found out that Frank Delane from Fear the Walking Dead was cast
Oh.
in this, and, like, in this series, he reminds me of Jack Sparrow. He just has this something about him, like, he can play like a flashback Pirates of the Caribbean kinda thing,
Wow.
anyway, that's
Yeah.
my new thing I wanna see now. And then Nick Mohammed from Ted Lasso was also in it. And so I was those three in it. There's a lot of other people, obviously, but those three I was very excited. So she is accused of, this is set in like, oh gosh, what year? Forever ago. Like, they're the men are dressed in lace shirts and all this kind of stuff, and everything.
Yeah.
So she gets accused of murder, of which, she's framed of murder, I guess is what is, and she becomes a very famous highway woman and does all these things. But then there's a fantasy element to it, which I didn't know about till like right before I watched it. I think I saw a trailer or something. I was like, oh, I didn't know that was like part of it. So, anyways, that I'm
Mhm.
not going to spoil that because I just recommend not watching the trailer and just jump in. But it's really cute. I watched a couple episodes so far, and yeah, it's got a lot of a lot of humor, and the costumes are fun and this and that. So anyway, I recommend that one. It was very good. Then I watched. I forget how I came. I think because I was doing research on Robert Patrick, and this movie came up, and it's a horror movie, but it's a comedy horror, like a dark comedy horror, and it's
Yeah.
called Tone Deaf. Have you ever seen this?
No. Uh-uh.
So we concluded the film, and my husband goes, "Well, that was entertaining," and that's exactly what it was because it was a horror, it was comedy, it was this other weird stuff going on over here, and it was all over the place. But I really enjoyed it. But it's like from like 2019, so it's an older, and it's Robert Patrick and Amanda Crew. She's in it, and they're the leads or whatever. But it was really, really good. I just enjoyed it. So if you're a fan of dark horror comedies and it gets a little weird, yeah, it was very good.
I love it when you find a movie that you don't even know anything about, and then you watch it, and it's like, "Oh, this is good." Well, those are good recommendations. So, because you had hopefully planned to see Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, you prompted me to go watch it. So, I did go watch it. I'm not gonna spoil anything because you haven't watched it. I don't wanna spoil anything anyway, but it was good. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I love that they're back in New York. I love that the original characters are in this movie, and it was entertaining. And I loved the original Ghostbusters, so it was good. I love that the song still plays, that they use the same music, and it's great. So I would suggest you check it out. And I think it's getting good reviews. I think people are
Yeah.
liking it. So
How do you compare it to
um,
Afterlife?
I liked it better.
Oh,
I
really?
de For
Good.
me,
Yeah.
yes, I liked it better, yes, and I think it's because we get to see Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and what's his name? Hudson?
Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson, yeah, I
Yeah.
think and Annie Potts too,
Oh, that's
so
right. Yes, yes.
yeah, so we get to see them along with Paul Rudd and all
Carrie
the new
Coon and yeah.
characters
And
and yeah,
Logan Kim, who's in Dead City.
yeah, so I just all the people, I liked them
Yeah.
all. It was good. It was just I love the ghosts. I love who's the evil villain trying to, take hold and emerge. So I was buying into it and I liked it. It was good. And of
Good.
course you have the mayor who doesn't agree with anything and is trying to close them down
Yeah,
just
of
as
course, yeah.
usual. So just all of that. I would totally recommend that. I also, by chance, watch Players on Netflix. Have you seen this?
Hmm.
It's with Gina Rodriguez and Damon Wayans Jr. And she plays a sports writer and she has this crew of guys and they're players, right? They help set each other up for hookups. So they're playing on other people. So, she gets them to help her if she finds some guy attractive or whoever,
Mhm.
it is with her. And with them, also the same. So she plays into their scenarios and they play into her scenarios. But she thinks she's fallen for this one guy and then now she wants to for him to see her differently, but it's funny because then she comes without giving anything away, true feelings end up emerging as the time goes on, and whether she should be with this guy or another guy or someone else, I don't know. You'll have to watch, but it's really cute. I don't know her very well. I never watched Jane the Virgin. I believe
Mhm.
that's,
Nope,
or I
yeah.
believe that was the show that she was on. I never watched it, so I didn't, I haven't seen her, but
Mhm,
I really like her now, and I thought it was great. So it made me go look her up as an actress. So
mhm.
it was a rom-com. So if you're looking for a rom-com, you can check that out. And then I did see the Steve Martin documentary. It
Oh,
was in
yeah.
2 parts, and it's on Apple TV. I did not realize how hard Steve Martin tried to be a comedian the first 10 years of his life. He was, he flopped so many times, but he just would get up
Mhm,
and persevere. And also you learn about the dynamics he had with his parents, which really shows you, and I've said this so many times in podcast episodes when we've covered all kinds of things, but your parents, you always want an approval from your parents.
mhm.
You want them to be proud of you, or you want them to appreciate what you're doing, whatever it is. And when you don't have that, it really strikes a chord in you.
Mhm,
And it strikes a chord in Steve Martin with his lack of relationship with his parents, and how he wanted to be a comedian and they weren't supportive. And then even when he became famous, it still wasn't good enough for
mhm,
his father. And it's interesting because I saw that also in Sylvester Stallone
mhm.
with his parent too. And so you see these people, Sylvester Stallone, this,
Yeah,
larger
yeah.
than life type of guy, and you see Steve Martin, this, brilliant actor and comedian, but they still have issues because of the lack of love shown by their parents at the time. And what I do appreciate both of them is that they have like a reflection of like, well, maybe we don't know what our parents went
Mhm,
through, and maybe, we have to give them a little bit of grace when it comes to certain things because they had their own upbringing. So, but it's just interesting. It's interesting to see that. But aside from all that, it shows his rise in comedy and how he got to movies, and they show a little bit of Martin Short in there. They
mhm,
show Jerry Seinfeld in there. They show Tina Fey in there. So the first half is mostly about him being a comedian, and the second half is a little bit more about the movies
mhm,
and TV shows. Oh, one thing I want to share with you, because you are a planes, trains, and automobile fan, he does say in there that there is, in Planes, Trains, and Automobile, at the very end, when John Candy gives that, well, it's supposed to be a big long speech, but they cut it all out.
mm.
But he showed the, I guess, like the script. It was super long. The
Oh,
monologue was super long, and John Candy had Steve Martin bawling when
oh,
he gave that monologue. He says, "I don't know why they cut it out, but they only put like 2 sentences in of what John Candy's character says." But and then as Steve Martin recollected that, he got emotional.
aw.
Yeah, so it was very, very heartfelt, and so I just thought that that was a
Yeah,
cool insight into that part of the movie. So,
yeah, we'll definitely be watching that. My mom is a huge Steve Martin fan, and so
yeah,
she yeah, I don't even know if she knows. We saw the preview for it last night, and I was like, "We have to watch this."
yeah. Well, it just came out, so it's
Yeah.
just out now
Mhm,
on Apple TV, so it's fun to watch, and it's,
mhm,
it's kind of inspirational because, like I said, Steve Martin kept trying, 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 and he just never gave up.
mhm.
He
Yeah.
just approached it different ways, and I found that inspirational
Mhm,
because, a lot of times we face things, and after a while we're like, "Well, maybe this isn't
mhm.
what I need to do."
Yeah.
But you know what? Take another approach. If you love something, approach it from a different way. Look at it from a different perspective, a different view. Just do it different and see where you
Mhm,
go. So I love that. All
mhm.
right. Well, friends out there, if you have any TV or movie recommendations, we would love to hear from you. You can reach us at our Google Voice number 669-223-8542. That phone number is also in our show notes. Also, you can get to us through our social media. All of that is at screensinfocus.com. And Renee, thank you. Thank you so much for breaking it all down with me. I love that you're here with me. So
I
thank
love
you.
being here. This it's always so much fun. I feel like we have such a good conversations, and I'm always so excited to discuss these episodes with you. So I just appreciate you bringing me along.
Well, yeah, and I thank you for saying that because sometimes I think I go a little crazy and I'm thinking, "Oh my god, does she think I'm crazy?"
No,
Because I do go a little over the edge sometimes.
I do too. So it's we're a good pair here.
Okay, good. Okay, good. And I love that Renee will be back for Daryl Dixon and maybe other TV shows
Yes.
and movies. So please stay tuned. We are going to take a short hiatus while I figure out what to bring to you out there, friends out there. So if you have any suggestions, let us know if you want something covered because I would love to cover it for you. And I hopefully will be back maybe in a few weeks with some TV or movie recommendations we have for you. And just remember to stay connected to Screens in Focus. I have my blog posts that I will be sharing there. Also, I might be doing a few of my little recommendation lives that I also do on Facebook, which you can also catch on YouTube. So just stay tuned. And again, we want to thank you for joining us because we know you love TV and movies too. So thanks for tuning in. We are grateful you joined us today. We hope something that we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to Screens in Focus at screensinfocus.com. And why not share this with a friend? Because we would love more members of our TV club. You can find our website in our show notes and also at screensinfocus.com. And just remember to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.